Hi Meleika, I'm Mayor Tisdahl.
I've been out there on the street talking to the people of Evanston, asking them what their concerns are, and of course, inclusion comes up quite a bit. Do you see that there's an issue in terms of inclusion, economics with people of color here in Evanston getting equality?
Well, there are all sorts of issues in terms of equality. Income inequality has just gotten worse and worse, and it's a terrible problem in Evanston and throughout the nation. And I think that one of the answers to that is education, and another one is jobs. So that's why I've been working so hard on jobs. And affordable housing, too, because it doesn't help if you can't afford to live in Evanston. Evanston may be a wonderful community, but that doesn't help you if you can't afford to stay here.
Okay, so your advice to the new mayor in terms of, it's such a thick problem to solve and get through. What would be your advice to the new mayor in terms of that inclusion and the economics of Evanston?
Well,
so you've started the Northwestern, so what else do you think they can do?
Well, Northwestern is providing apprenticeships and training people in jobs that make good money so that it's a career rather than a fast food kind of job. So
Right.
I think that's been very helpful. And we're working with North Shore University Health Systems to see if they can have a program similar to Northwestern's. And we had a very productive meeting with them. And they have 1,000 jobs that go unfilled. So there are jobs out there. We just have to train our residents and get them into education programs so that they can get those jobs.
Mm-hmm. What about the ones who are educated and trained, but they just aren't allowed in? How do we fight that, or
well, I think
how do we get through that?
Northwestern is doing a much better job, and they are hiring Evanston residents, and their John D'Angelo, the head of their facilities department, came from a Navy job where he was required to hire local people and required to hire a certain number of minorities and women, and he believes in that and thinks that you get better people when you get local people hired because they do a better job for you. And so he's very excited about hiring more Evanston residents, and he talked with North Shore University Health System about setting up a similar program, and I think that that's going to be very helpful. And then we've got Oakton coming to town to help train people for the jobs that exist. So I think between Northwestern's willingness to hire our people and Oakton's help getting them educated to meet the job needs, and North Shore University Health System being very interested in hiring, that those are all good things.
Okay. Now, you had received a lot of heat on social media in terms of the whole Stop-n-Frisk situation. Can you clarify to people what you meant? Because I think what it came down to was you were being interviewed and it was pretty much in writing. So I know you probably elaborated more on that, but they only captured a little bit of what you said. So, people just ran with the words that were actually printed. So, can you clarify for the viewers your stance on Stop and Frisk? And
well, I don't know what article you're referring to, but Stop and Frisk was discussed. If you remember, there was a horrible moment in Evanston's history when there was a shooting, or shots were fired at between Fleetwood Jourdain Community Center and Family Focus, and it was at 3 in the afternoon when the school buses were thank heaven the buses were late, but when the kids who are there for daycare would have been coming. And there used to be an agreement among the gangs that you didn't shoot guns at community centers and that you didn't shoot guns at 3 in the afternoon when children could be hurt. But that understanding fell apart that afternoon at Family Focus. There was a frightening video of it. There was one little boy who found Fleetwood was on lockdown, and so he couldn't get into Fleetwood. He ran there too late, and he had to crouch outside by the door the whole time. It was very frightening. So after that, the police chief went to a Fifth Ward meeting, and he outlined his plan to use stop and frisk to target gang members and to try to get the guns off the streets. And as a result of that, he got 50 guns off the streets, which means I think that a couple of lives were saved. Nobody at that Fifth Ward meeting objected to what he planned to do. So I felt that the community had been informed and that there was a desire on the part of the community to get the guns off the streets. There are way too many guns. They come pouring in from Indiana, and they're creating havoc in Chicago, but the problems in Chicago are not coming to Evanston, and there are multiple reasons. The jobs program is one reason. The community support of Stop and Frisk, the use of the text-a-tip. We're providing all kinds of programs to prevent the violence in Chicago from coming here, but we have to keep working at it continually.
Okay. And why do you think that is that no one spoke up? Because they really started speaking up on social media when they had read this article. And I felt the article didn't print everything you had probably explained, everything you just explained right now.
I wasn't at the Fifth Ward meeting, so I don't know why no one spoke, but I would guess, you'd have to ask the Fifth Ward to be sure, but I would guess that the video of the shots being fired at Fleetwood and Family Focus was the reason. It was a frightening moment in our history.
The fear of stop and frisk is that a lot of young black males mainly get pulled over and they're not in a gang, they haven't done anything wrong. So stop and frisk has been very, very frightening.
Then it's
history.
being misused from what the chief of police said and intended, so that I think that we need to discuss that, and I think that's certainly driving while black is acceptable in Evanston and legal and should not be cause for being stopped. And if that is happening, then we need to address it and make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
Okay. And our two candidates that are running, Steve Hagerty and Mark Tendam, have you met with them to talk to them about the stop and frisk and to be sure that our young black males aren't being targeted in any sort of way?
I have not discussed stop and frisk with either candidate.
Okay. Have you met with either candidates in terms of economic inclusion?
Oh yeah, I've talked to both of them about the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program, and Steve Hagerty came when we had the job fair and met some of the people who were providing jobs as well as some of the young people applying for jobs. And it was a wonderful event. When I started as mayor, there were 167 jobs available at the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment, and the line stretched through the City Hall and out into the parking lot and onto Simpson Street, and we had over 500 people applying for jobs. This year, my goal is 1,000, because I'm told 1,000 is a tipping point when it will really impact violence in the community. But we had 857, I think, people apply for jobs, and they all got them.
That's beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mayor Tisdahl. And are there any last words you'd like to send out there to the viewers, to Evanston?
Yes, I wanted to be sure that everybody knows that the Erie Family Health Center will treat you whether you have money to pay or don't, and whether you are documented or undocumented.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, thank you so much, Mayor Tisdahl, and thank you for all your service
You are welcome.
to the community, and we wish you the what are your plans after May 8th?
Well, I was hoping to go to work for Hillary, but that isn't happening.
Oh,
So I'm going to travel and see a lot more of my grandchildren.
okay. All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.